The Celestial Empire, or Points and Pickings of Information about China and the Chinese, by George Mogridge. Chapter 11. A few specimens of Chinese edicts and despatches. If I give you a few specimens of Chinese edicts issued during the contention between the British and the Celestial Empire, you will be better able to judge of the ways of thinking of the Chinese. Whether we regard this singular people as to their conduct in time of peace or war, in private or in public, in common circumstances, or when under the influence of difficulty and danger, there is that among them which we cannot reconcile to European habits. Nothing can be more opposed to our English impressions of courage, uprightness, and honor than the act of bidding a reward in time of warfare for the destruction of an enemy. Branded as the brow of war is with inhumanity, it has its degrees of meanness, deceit, and cowardice, as well as of high-mindedness, fairness, and courage. The following scale of rewards made public by the Chinese in their contention with the British does little credit to their national character. Anyone, either of the military or the people, who shall seize and deliver up Elliot shall be rewarded with $100,000 and reported for promotion to the 4th degree of rank. Those who seize and deliver up Elliot's subordinates, Bremer, Morrison, Dent, Thom, Kearheap, shall be rewarded with $50,000 and be reported for promotion to the 5th degree of rank. Those who concoct a plan for burning the English barbarians' ships of war with reference to the number of their masts, at the rate of $1,000 for one mast, for a schooner $3,000. Those who seize alive any head thieves, captains, and sea of Her Majesty's ships, besides the settled scale of rewards, if there are any goods on board the ship, they shall be divided amongst the captors. The rest of the nations which continue to respectful and obedient are allowed to continue their trade as usual, and the military and people must not seek causes of quarrels with their ships in order to manifest a distinction between the obedient and disobedient. If any dare obstinately to oppose, they shall be heavily punished without any remission. Those who seize a steam vessel shall be rewarded with $6,000, and her cargo shall be divided amongst them, and their services shall be esteemed of high military merit. Merchants of any foreign nation who seize and deliver up Elliot and aid China in the meritorious work of exterminating the English shall be rewarded as follows, under the season's regulations. They shall be reported to be released from half the usual duties in order to rouse them to exertion. Those who are thoroughly acquainted with the dispositions of the barbarians and can outwit by stratagems their adherents, or cut off their race, or make fire utensils and vessels to destroy the lives of the barbarians, will be all allowed great merit. If they wish to become public officers, they shall be reported for that purpose. If they do not wish to become public officers, they shall be rewarded with $20,000. Those who seize alive a native-born Englishman shall be rewarded with $200. Those who cut off an Englishman's head shall receive $100. For a live native of India, $50, and for his head, $30 will be given. If in reading over this proclamation we could discover that it proceeded from a hatred of war and a love of peace, or indeed from any virtuous or proper motive, however opposed to European habits and feelings, we should be bound to respect it, But we look for such a motive in vain. It is a manifestation of weakness in policy, deceit, and cruelty. In judging the Chinese, however, we must make large allowances for their ignorance of European tactics, their educational impressions, and the novel position in which they were placed. Let us encourage kindly feelings for China and ask ourselves how we can best befriend with willing mind and heart and hand our dark-haired brethren of that distant land. The following extracts from edicts and reports will say much for the proud boastings of the Chinese, though they will add nothing to their reputation for steadiness and courage. I woo the Lieutenant Governor as soon as the English wrote to the Commandant Ting Hai in a strain of seditious violence, hastily set out, and travelling night and day, reached Qinghai at 6 o'clock in the evening of the 9th, where I had an interview with the General Chu, and was astounded to learn that on the 15th of the month, Chang Chiufa, the commandant of Qinghai, had an engagement with the rebellious English, in which their guns wounded a very large number of our officers and soldiers and sunk the vessels. On the 6th of July, the city of Qinghai was attacked and taken by the said English, and Yao Quet Sing, the acting magistrate, and Yun Fu, the secretary, not surrendering, were killed. I, the Lieutenant Governor, receiving this intelligence, could not prevent my hair from bristling with anger. First, we ought to devise some plan to wear out their soldiers, that they may be slow in advancing and retreating, and when our forces are collected in great numbers, we can again act together to resist and attack them, that at an appointed time we may at once seize them all. How Lieutenant Governor Wu and Commander Chu fared at the hands of the Chinese government will appear by the following extracts from the imperial edicts. The remissness of the naval and military forces of Chiekang can be known without inquiry. When the mean and contemptible foreign fellows dare to conduct in this outrageous and seditious manner, the high civil and military officers were immediately filled with trepidation and lost all self-command. All they are ever good for is to know how to nourish their honorable selves and live at ease. Our officers are all no better than wooden statues. To allow them to land and excite sedition, let War He Kingi and Chu Ting Piao for their former acts be both delivered over to the proper tribunal for examination and punishment. The lax condition of the troops and officers of Chiekang will be known without inquiry. The imperial will is sent down to take Wu and Chu and deliver them over to the proper tribunal for examination and punishment. It is usually a dark day for any Chinese officer or magistrate when he is delivered over to the proper tribunal for examination and punishment. For the degree of lenity or justice he may expect may be gathered from the expression of the government. The lax condition of the troops and officers of Zhejiang can be known without inquiry. Lin Xie-Xiu, who had been sent to Canton to consult with Tang and to settle the opium affair, seemed to succeed not a whit better than Wu and Chu, as appears by the following imperial command. Let Ling and Tang each be delivered over to the criminal board to be punished with increased severity. The following imperial command will place this affair, so far as regards Lin, in a yet clearer light. Lin Xie-Xiu, you received my imperial orders to go to Canton, to examine into and manage the affairs relating to opium, from the exterior to cut off all trade in opium, and to terminate its many evils and disgraces. As to the interior, your orders were to seize perverse natives and thus cut off all supplies to foreigners, probably the English, who are more particularly pointed at. Why have you delayed so long in the matters connected with these small, petty, contemptible criminals who are still ungratefully disobedient and unsubmissive? You have not only proved yourself unable to cut off their trade, but you have also proved yourself unable to seize perverse natives. You have but dissembled with empty words and in deep disguises in your report to the emperor, and so far from having been of any help in the affair, you have caused the waves of confusion to arise, and 1,000 interminable disorders are sprouting. In fact, you have been as if your arms were tied, without knowing what to do. It appears then you are no better than a wooden image. When I think to myself on all these things, I am filled at once with anger and melancholy. We shall see in what instances you can answer to me. I order that your official seals be immediately taken from you, and that you hasten with the speed of flames to Pekin, that I may examine you in my presence. Delay you not. I order the Lieutenant Governor E to take charge of the government of the two provinces of Kwantung and Kwangse. Respect this. Admiral Kwan next falls under the displeasure of his imperial master, and is like those who preceded him, dealt with in a very summary manner. Thus run the words of the royal edict respecting him. Quan Tin Pei, though filling the post of commander-in-chief and having under his control the whole naval force, has shewn himself at all times devoid of talent to direct, and on the approach of a crisis perturbed, alarmed, and resourceless. Let his button and insignia of rank be at once taken from him, but let him, at the same time bearing his offences, labour to attain merit and shew forth his after endeavours. The next character which I shall mention is Keshen, who had orders to act with Lin and Tang, and he seems to have been dealt with by the government with yet greater severity than the others. The following extract is from a dispatch of the Privy Council. Already has a flying dispatch been sent to the different provinces of Hunan, Shizhen, and Kweichao, that 4,000 soldiers be immediately got ready and sent with all haste to Canton, there to await orders. Cause, therefore, that Keshen, in concert with Lin Xia Xiu and Tang Ting Ching, to take the necessary steps for settling this business. If the rebellious foreigners dare to approach our inner shores, let them be immediately exterminated. Poor Keshen, in his explanations to the imperial court, has these expressions. But your slave is a man of confused and dull understanding. What he has done has, unhappily, not met the view of his sacred majesty. Fearing and trembling as I am, how shall I find words to give expression to my feelings? Humbly remembering that your slave's person has received marks of imperial goodness, his conscience is not hardened. How should I dare, while engaged on this important duty of curbing these outside foreigners and struggling amid danger and difficulty, to strive after forbidden repose? From the moment that I came down to Canton, have I been the victim of the craft and wiles of these presuming foreigners. In every instance are they quite ungovernable, until that my head aches, and my heart is rent, and my morning meal comes to me without relish. Thus, for example, on one occasion we gave the foreigners battle, but our men shewed little firmness. We then requested that a manifestation of divine majesty might be made in their annihilation. But alas, The circumstances of the case and the wishes of my heart are sadly opposed. All these facts have I offered up to your Majesty in repeated statements, praying that your Majesty would bestow thereon a holy glance. Your slave is vexed to death, thinking of these things, even till he loathes his food, and till sleep has forsaken his eyelids. Forasmuch he does not shrink from the heavy guilt he is incurring in taking all these facts, the result of his diligent inquiry is an annoying with them the ears of heaven's son, and at the same time he takes everything connected with the foreigners, and all the foreigners' letters, and hands them up for imperial inspection. He humbly hopes that the Holy One will look down with pity and compassion on the black-haired race and shower upon them an extra measure of clemency in granting what is therein requested, so that the people of the land may not be turned to ashes. In times of difficulty is seen good government. Victory is but a transient thing. In restraining the ruin that is before our eyes, we ought carefully to eradicate the cause of it for after ages. In reference to all the circumstances contained in this, whether the result of my conference with the high provincial officers or of my own diligent investigation, I only hope that your sacred Majesty will condescend to inquire regarding them, and I beg that your Majesty will specially appoint a high officer to come here to ascertain their truth. Your slave has been actuated by a desire to save the country and the people from first to last, and not swayed by the smallest atom of fear, and still more he dare not make use of the least glossing or deception. Inasmuch, therefore, this respectful memorial is forwarded at the rate of 600 lei a day, humbly hoping that the Emperor's holy glance may be bestowed thereon. A respectful memorial. The Emperor's reply to Cassian's communication is as follows. We can on no account calmly put up with the insults and befooling of these rebellious foreigners as you have done. Blinded and unwilling to see as you are, dare you still have the hardihood to turn your back on our commands? To continue receiving the foreigners' documents, and even to beg favors in their behalf? Such proceedings pass the bounds of reason. Impotent and worthless that you are, what sort of heart is contained within your breast? Not only do you contentedly take in their threats and insults, but you even dare to hold up certain passages with intent to frighten us. But know that we have no coward fears. Besides this, we shall again announce our pleasure. Respect this. Further, he has reported that on the 6th day the tiger's gates were laid in ruins, which intelligence has riven my very heart and liver. I did not deem that Cassian, from his commonplace talent, could sell his country and still have talent sufficient to gloss over his treason, a crime for which death is not even a sufficient punishment. I order that the Yulin Kyun, the Emperor's own troops, some of his guards, we presume, with the utmost rigor, seal and lock up the temple of his ancestors and those of his relations. If, after reading this account of Wu, Chu, Lin, Tang, Quan, and Governor Cassian, you have any desire to become officers of His Celestial Majesty, I wish you joy of your appointments. But as to myself, I prefer an honest crust in Old England to the highest appointment in China, and would not be tempted by Emperor Tao Quang to take office under him for all the vermilion edicts, 5-clawed dragons, red buttons, pigtails, and peacock's feathers in his dominions.